Hey everyone, it's Presley at ActOutGames.com here, and today we're going to be doing a Presley's perspective. So we've done one recently, so most of you probably know what it is, but if you don't, we're going to be talking about a subject. Usually I don't know what it is, but we do know what it is today. I'm going to be talking about Christina Grimmie's shooting that recently happened.
Yeah, last night.
Yeah, last night.
Just last night, yeah. And so it's not always critical that you don't know beforehand. It's more that this is us having our first real conversation about it.
Yeah.
And we're sort of letting people in on our first talk about it. Like, we haven't written a script, we haven't kind of prepared for this, and I don't know what your thoughts are, and you probably don't know what my thoughts are.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm guessing they're pretty similar since there's not really much to think about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's differences. Definitely, we'll see what happens, right? Okay.
I was actually reading the article, and in the comments, someone said that this was a stupid stunt with a fake body, and I'm very confused as to why someone would think that.
Yeah, well, they probably don't think that. They're just they're ill as well. Yeah, I don't know. So, she gave a concert. So she was on The Voice. She started on YouTube. She had over 3 million subscribers. It's pretty big. Like, that's a big YouTuber. And she would compete on The Voice.
I hadn't really heard of her.
Yeah, I didn't know much about her either, actually, honestly. And so she was on The Voice. I may have seen her on The Voice, so we watched The Voice a lot. But so she came in 3rd place, I guess, her year on The Voice.
Yeah.
And so she had a band, and they performed in Orlando, actually is where it was, last night. And after the show, they were hanging out and signing autographs and selling merch. I mean, basically a meetup, right? Yeah. A few hundred people were there kind of getting autographs and stuff. And some guy came in and just shot her. And they haven't really reported, it's still pretty early, so they haven't reported like how many times she got shot. And her brother was there, and is kind of always, I guess, hanging out with her and kind of one of her biggest supporters. Reminds me a little of Justin Speed, right? Like, he's around. And so as soon as it happened, her brother tackled the guy, like really brave, like heroic kind of thing, like grabbed him and took him to the ground. And I guess in the scramble and in whatever happened there, the guy that shot Christina shot himself and killed himself. And so he's dead now too. She lived for a little bit. They took her to the hospital, and she died at the hospital after, right? So, it's a horrible thing, right, to have happened, right? You just can't even comprehend, like, what her family is going through, and her friends, and even her fans are seeing a lot online going on, right? But, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, like, the repercussions, right, like, in the YouTube community, because she was a YouTuber, and it's not just that she was a YouTuber, right? I mean, this has happened to famous people before. I think this is all speculation at this point, right? Because we don't know. Like, they haven't released a lot of information yet. But he was probably like an obsessed fan. He knew her and was really obsessed with her, and it probably, I would guess, had made contact with her or tried to make contact with her before. Like, her and her family probably know who this person was, and had been in touch with him, right? And people around him knew that he had problems and that he could have been dangerous. But people never really want to believe that someone could do something like this, right? And so I think there are ways that this probably could have been prevented. There were probably warning signs that led up to this, right? And that's all totally speculation on my part. Like, I want to be clear. I don't know any of this. I don't know anything about this. I'm just guessing.
A pattern.
It's a pattern. That's right. And so you've seen it with the guy that shot John Lennon, right? Like, an obsessed fan. Selena, when I was in college when Selena was shot, and she was shot by, like, the president of her fan club, who she had become friends with, and it was the same thing. She was a singer, and she was, like, really famous. And like, there have been these things that have happened before, where celebrities have these obsessed fans, and you see in the news every once in a while, like, Madonna will come home from a trip, and some dude will be in her house. Somebody broke in her house, and he thinks that they're married and they're living together, and he lives there in the house. And so, I mean, you see these things happen. And so, like, I'm curious what your thoughts, what it makes you think about being a YouTuber. How does it make you, like, it's a tragedy, right? And it's a horrible thing that happened. And I'm curious, like, how do you think it affects you going forward and making videos and continuing down the path that you're on, and going to VidCon in a couple of weeks, and sort of going to fan meet and greets, and being in a big community of YouTubers and stuff like that? What are your, I know you just sort of started thinking about this, but I'm curious, what are your thoughts so far?
I've always had really strange, like, especially when I get really tired, I always have really strange anxiety that someone's gonna find our house and try and hurt me, because I don't know, like, it feels, for some reason, to me, it feels ridiculously, like, narcissistic if I say that they'll try and hurt me because they're jealous of me. Like, that seems ridiculously narcissistic to me. But I don't know, I've always had really weird anxiety about that, and I'm not entirely sure why, because it's like really rare for that to occur.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
It is.
Especially to me, because I'm not very big compared to all these other people.
Right.
So I've always been like slightly scared of it, but I do think that since we're going to be in a bit of a bigger area than where she was, like this was just like a couple hundred people. Yeah. We're gonna be at VidCon where there are like thousands and thousands of people. So there's a little bit of safety in numbers mindset with me, where like if I'm in a pack mindset and everyone's thinking the same thing and everyone's there and thinking about their favorite YouTubers, then possibly it's a bit safer, because like if something was to happen, I don't think it would have happened. It's less likely to happen in a room with thousands and thousands of people.
Right.
So I think it would be safer in that.
And Hank
as well.
has already like sent out tweets saying that he's talking to security at VidCon to sort of prepare and make sure that they're aware of, if anything, if like my fear. I think you're right that it's very, very rare, very, very rare, right? Very unlikely to happen. But when something like this happens that's big, sometimes there are like copycat, like somebody else out there that's right on the edge that sees it happen. There could be copycat things that happen sort of immediately after. Like I think it's like very low likelihood.
Yeah.
So you having this fear, is that something that came from doing the channel and being on YouTube, or did you have it before that even?
It got bigger when we started the channel, and especially once we passed like 1,000 subscribers, it got a lot bigger. I would always be able to say, oh god, it's like very unlikely, you only know a few people. Right. Like you've already found your best friend. I didn't know both of my best friends at the time, but you've already found your best friend, and she's really one of the only people you talk to that much. You're not gonna go out and be crazy, and no one's gonna know who you are, and no one's gonna try and hurt you because of that respect. Although I always had a fear that my house would just be chosen at random to be attacked. But
I don't think that's uncommon.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that's like people think about that, right?
Yeah.
And
I just have it like obviously like I think I have it a little bit worse than other people have now, especially now, because like every night I'll be like, what if I always have to tuck back my curtains and hide, especially when it's really bad. I have to pull covers over myself and position myself in a way that I would look like I'm just part of the covers for some reason. I always do that when it gets really bad. But yeah, I've always had like a weird fear of that because like it's extremely unlikely that it would happen, especially to me. But I always have a weird thing about it. Yeah.
First of all, it's not gonna happen, okay?
Yeah.
It is extremely rare.
I do know that, yeah.
Yeah, you're okay. You're safe, okay? And we're here to help and take care of you, okay? I don't want you to be scared. You don't need to be scared. It's
I'm not
really rare.
that scared.
I know, but
Okay,
I don't want you to
weird
feel that way, right? There's no need for you to feel that way, right? And we'll help, and we can talk about it, and we can try and work it out, right? You don't have to feel that way, right?
Yeah.
And if it becomes something that's really scary for you, then like if you want to not be doing this.
No.
I know how important this is to you,
Never.
but I want you to know, like, if this becomes a point of anxiety for you, then
It's not like that. It's
no,
just,
I understand. Okay,
no,
listen,
don't.
I know. It's okay. Look, I don't want you to be scared, though. Okay,
Yeah.
you don't have to be scared. Okay, it is extremely rare, and so I'll tell you a little bit, kind of a story that we may have talked about before or not, right? So, like, human beings in general. Like, we're really bad at being animals, right? Like we don't have good defenses, like armor or spikes or poison or something like that.
We also have now I get to talk about biology.
Wait, hold on. Let me finish my point.
I want to talk about biology.
I know. Let me finish my point, and then you can jump in. We don't have claws or fangs or like great offensive weapons either, right? So you put us in a cage match with most other animals, and we're probably going to lose, right? And so we had to develop other ways to sort of survive and be dominant. And so one was society, so banding together and helping each other. Another was
Which is slightly questionable nowadays.
Well, I mean, so we're still probably better off.
Yeah.
But one is like our intelligence and use of tools, so our ability to sort of make
Fun fact,
offense
ravens
and
can
defense.
use tools too.
Right, they can.
Birds.
No, that's right.
Smart birds.
So I think that really helped us a lot. And then one of the other things that really helped us was this like heightened sense of fear and danger.
Yeah.
And so we would, like, you hear a sound, you sense that something's around you.
Fight or flight immediately.
Fight or flight, right? And it's flight, if you can, right? The human survival instinct is to get away from danger because we're not really capable of dealing with it, right? And so our brains are just hardwired for this sort of anxiety, sort of like you're talking about, is to be prepared. And one of the negative side effects of that
is unconditional anxiety.
Yeah, it's irrational fear, right? Irrational fears that we have, and things like this in particular. Like I studied this in college for a while, where like you have these things that are very, very low likelihood to happen, but if they do happen, the consequences are extreme. Yeah. Like being on a plane that a terrorist blows up is a really common example of that, right? Or a random stranger kidnapping your kid, like while your kid's out playing and doing something. And like these things, like, they're extremely rare, but if they happen to you, they're horrific, right? And our brains, because of this sort of evolutionary process of anxiety that we have as a species, our brains are really bad at dealing with that and understanding that, oh, like this, there's almost no chance of this happening, so we shouldn't let this affect the way that we live our lives. Like a plane went down the week, like days before we flew to London, right? And nobody knew what happened. We still don't know what happened to that plane, right? Why it went down. There was a mass shooting in Paris last year, right? Like these things have just been happening. I think it was last year. It's recently, relatively recently, right? These things have been happening, but they are still extremely rare, and you have to recognize just through your rational brain, like you're kind of talking about it, right? Like I understand that it's extremely rare and it's unlikely to happen, but I still have this fear, and so you have to let that rational side of your brain overcome the irrational fear.
Usually it does. Except this always strikes me when I'm really, really tired and can't think.
No, it makes it harder.
Like I can't
I agree.
talk very well. It always strikes me when at the point where I can't talk really well and I can't really process things great.
Yeah.
Like it will take me like at least like half an hour just to get up and go get water if I'm thirsty in this point. Like I can't move. I'm like, I want to go get water. Can I please stand up? But it won't let me. I can't stand up. So it always strikes me when I'm like really tired, and when I get to that point where I'm so tired that I can't sleep.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're that sort of lizard brain takes dominance.
You say lizard brain too. You say lizard brain.
Am I not supposed to say that?
No, no, you're not. It's not that you're not supposed to say that. My friend was recently talking about how her mom calls it lizard brain.
Okay, so yes, so your lizard brain like comes in and overpowers your higher faculties. Yeah. So tell me your biology thing that you wanted to say.
Biology. Sorry, I just like talking about biology. Like we evolved to like have more of a mindset, and we can use tools and strategy more than obviously we can use our brute and stuff like brute force. Yeah. So we've evolved more to use strategy over other things. Yeah. So it's like less of like if we were in a cage match with someone, if there weren't many rules, we could strategize to.
But if you didn't have access to tools and things, like if you're just in an empty room with a bear, you're probably not going to come out of that room.
Unless it was a bear that hadn't eaten in 3 years. My favorite riddle.
Right. Forgot about that one. So we're well equipped to handle a lot of things, but the process that led us to be where we are now also sort of gave us some of these drawbacks. Yeah. Right? And it gave us this kind of a fear that we have, this susceptibility to fear that we have to overcome with reason. And like you said, sometimes when you're extra tired. But like we should be talking about this a lot more. Like when you're feeling this and when you're having these feelings, you should be coming and talking to us about it so that we can talk through it and maybe give you some techniques to kind of deal with it and address it and stuff. Like I don't want you to feel anxiety like that.
My technique to when you're having bad anxiety in bed is like Google your OTPs and just look at those pictures for hours on end. Right. It works very well. Right. It works very well.
Right. No, if it calms you down, it calms you down, right? Okay, so let's talk. So it doesn't make you question making YouTube videos?
It doesn't make me question making YouTube videos because it's what I love doing and I really want to keep doing it.
Does it make you question going to VidCon in a couple of weeks?
No, because I love doing that also. And VidCon makes me feel safer because there are so many people there, and it's a lot more of a safe space, especially because of the community of VidCon.
So, like, do you trust Hank and his team to keep you safe?
Definitely, I trust Hank and his team. I trust them to keep us safe and even if they have to up security and it's a slight inconvenience to get in the building.
Yeah, you'll tolerate more security at VidCon this year.
Yes, please, I will tolerate all the security you need.
If you were big enough right now that you were going to do one of the formal meet and greets at VidCon in a couple of weeks, or if we were, like we talked about in the video yesterday or whatever, to say, hey, let's get together with our fans and do an informal meet and greet, does it make you think twice about doing that?
Well, I'd love to meet my fans, and from what we've seen of our community, well, obviously she saw this from her community too.
Yeah, right.
they seem, well, we have a smaller community as well, so it's less likely that there will be that one crazed fan.
Yeah, I think that just I think the odds are just infinitesimal, right? Like, no matter what all of the other circumstances are and things like that, I think the odds are just tiny. But they're there, right? I mean, there is a risk, and I think that there's also a couple of things when you talk about security, right? There are things that Hank and his team are going to be doing to keep us safe that we'll never know about.
Yeah.
You won't see them, you won't have any idea that they're happening, right? And those, to me, like, because I did information security for a long time, I did security stuff, those are sort of real security. And then there are things that Hank and his team will do to make us feel more safe. And so a lot of times you call that security theater, right? Having more security guards that are visible and in uniform standing around, and even putting like metal detectors and things like that you have to walk through. Like they provide some level of security, but they also make you feel safer because you're seeing a security presence and you're seeing what they're doing to kind of make you feel safer. And sometimes those things are just as important. Like, a lot of people in the security world dismiss security theater and say you should only really be doing these things that actually make people safer, and not worry about these things
that does make you more safer, because like, people who plan on doing a dangerous thing will see security theater and might be discouraged.
True.
Because they see it's very highly secure.
Yeah, that's true.
And they will
I mean, the problem is that you have, like, in this instance, if you assume that this person, or certainly in a lot of cases, the person who's doing this, they plan on dying as part of what they're doing, and none of this is going to stop them. Like, seeing security guards there that might shoot them, or like, they don't care. That's part of their plan, right? As long as, if they're walking in to do this one bad thing, until they do the bad thing, nobody's stopping them. Nobody knows to stop them. And then after they've done the bad thing, they were planning on dying anyway. So, like, there's always going to be a chance that this kind of thing can happen, right? But the security theater, making people feel safer in their environment, is really important, even if it doesn't actually make you safer.
Yeah, as well as if people are more tense, the mindset around
the energy gets weird, and I agree.
It'll make people want to lash out against the workers to be like, give us more security, we're not safe.
Right.
And it will give them, like, more tense is very, like, bad. Like, sorry if this reference is very bad, but in The Sims, if all your Sims are tense, it's way more likely for them to set fires or for more dangerous things to happen.
Yeah, no, people feed off energy, right? So having that kind of tension and stuff wouldn't be bad. So I never thought of it that way, but I totally agree that the security theater can help ease the tension of the environment as well, and make things safer and more secure overall.
Yeah.
But so I was curious how much it concerned you. Like, I knew you had some anxieties, right? And we need to talk more about those anxieties, right? Because it's not healthy to be that scared, right? And rationally. And it's always weird, because I've had things like that before too, like, where I know rationally I shouldn't be feeling this way and shouldn't be worried about going and doing this thing, but I still have that fear. It doesn't make that fear go away. And one thing that does help is talking about it a lot, right? So we should be having more conversations, especially when you're in that moment and you're kind of feeling that way. You should come get me or come get us, and then we'll talk about it, okay? Because I don't want you to be scared, and I certainly don't want you to be scared of the subscribers and the people that are engaging. I'm not afraid of subscribers. Right? There's, it's just not a good way to kind of live your life in fear that way, right? It is a horrible thing that happened, right? I just can't stress enough, like, how terrible this thing is, but how we all respond to it, I think, is the important. Going forward, like how are we going to let it change who we are as people? And there's all kinds of debates about guns and mental health and, like, all of these things that we need to be talking about, and how we can prevent it.
Obviously, at the place, they should have more gun control. They should search.
Right.
They should have known that he had a gun and he was on.
Yeah, I think they were supposed to. I think the venue was supposed to be, like, checking backpacks and stuff like that, like we did.
Yeah,
so something slipped through. Like I said, probably his family probably knew that he was off and that something was wrong. He had probably had interactions with her through like fan media and stuff like that like there were probably, but again, like, I didn't really want this video to be about what kind of gun control should we have, what kind of mental health should we be offering people to prevent these things from going forward. Like, I really wanted to know what it, in your heart, like, what it did to you and what it makes you think about going forward, and how you want to change who we are, if at all. I'm
trying to say, like, rather positive about, like, obviously not like, well, everything was okay when that happened, but I'm trying to just stop thinking about it for, just so that I don't overly stress over what's going on.
Right.
Because the more I start to think about it, the more like stressed out I get about what happened.
Right.
And like more of being stressed out that something bad's gonna happen to someone that I know, like a more popular YouTuber that I know.
That you follow.
That I follow, and that well, in some cases that I know, because I do know.
Oh, the people that even worse, people that we actually know, have a relationship with. Yeah, I think that you have to come to grips with bad things are going to happen. Like, people always want to sort of jump in and how do we keep this from ever happening again, and my mentality is always like, you just can't. Like, it's just not. You can reduce the risk, but you can't stop this. There's always one person who has one bad thing to do is it can get away with it, and you're never going to be able to stop it. But it's so incredibly rare that you can't let it drive your life and just live in a safe room in your house and order pizza in all the time and not go out. You would be safer and you would live longer and like all that would be great, but you wouldn't live your life. Like, you wouldn't be who you wanted to be and do what you want to be. So that's the most important lesson that I want to get across, and we're going to talk about this a lot more after this. We want to wrap this up, right? But so number one, I don't want you to be scared, okay? And I feel bad that you're nervous about it, right? And so we're going to talk about it a lot more. And when you feel like that, I want you to come talk to me, and we'll talk more, and we'll talk through it, and we'll see if we can get to kind of the bottom of what's causing that. Because you had that a little bit even before, like YouTube. Yeah. You were kind of worried about something, and I've had it too, actually, when I was a kid, and I thought about those kinds of horrible things that could happen. But we just need to keep talking about it a little bit. I think it'll make you feel better. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think that was that it.
I think we can wrap up.
So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, guys.